Hello everyone. In this video we'll be beginning with this lesson. There is lesson number 11, human eye and colorful world. In this video first we will look into this human eye. So when we hear the term human eye, we in our mind we see this picture, or in our mind we create an image of this picture. Means human eye looks like this, so it appears like this. So if from the front view it appears like this, and if we see from the side, or if we see the internal parts of the eye, it appears like this. So this is the human eye, and it is also known as eyeball. So it is circular in structure, so it is known as eyeball. So it has different structure in it, and different parts of it, it has different parts in it. So one by one we will explain the different parts. It has different layers. The first layer, that is the topmost layer, this one, we call this layer as sclera. You see here this layer from here to this part, and from here to this part. So from here to this part, this white part, up to this much, and from here to this part, excluding this part. So this front bulging outward part, except this part, from here till here and from here till here, this part is known as sclera. And this sclera, after reaching this point, is protruding outward, and this outward protruding portion is known as cornea. So cornea is nothing but a part of sclera. So sclera is up to this much is known as sclera, and from here to here this part is known as cornea. So this is one structure, and under the cornea we have another layer. This orange yellow color one layer you can see. So this layer is known as retina. So it is very important layer. It is known as retina. Then in the front portion, if we see, so here we have one colored part, and it is known as iris. So here it is marked here, iris. So this part is known as iris. So we will see how iris looks like. So here, so this part. So from the front part, if you see it, the colored part, this here blue, and here it is gray in color. So this colored part, other than this black portion, so this colored part is known as iris. So from the side, if you see, it appears like this. So it is known as iris. So it is in some people it is blue, in some people it is gray, in some people it is black. So the color varies because the colored pigment is different in different people. So the color of this iris varies from person to person. So this is known as iris, and here in the center of the iris you can see one missing part is there. There is nothing, one black hole is there. And this hole is known as pupil. So here you can see this part is iris and this part is iris, and in the center something is missing, and it is known as pupil. So if you see this picture, so here, so blue part is there, and around in the center of this blue part you can see one black colored dot is there, and actually there is nothing. So it is blank space. So it's like a hole, or like a small hole, and it is known as pupil. Here you can see this part. So this part is our iris, and this black colored portion is known as pupil. So here you can see it. Then behind the pupil we have a lens here. So one lens is attached, or one lens is present inside our eye. So it is convex in shape. It is a convex lens. So it is attached to the eye with the help of some muscles, and these muscles are known as ciliary muscles. So this lens is attached with the help of ciliary muscles. Ciliary muscles helps to attach the lens in the eye, and before this iris one portion is there, and here some liquid is there, and this liquid is known as aqueous humor. So here it is not given. So the liquid present before this iris, this here some liquid are there, and it is known as aqueous humor. And inside or behind the lens we have a weak portion, and here also liquid is there, and this liquid is known as vitreous humor. So this is vitreous humor, and this is known as aqueous humor. And here we have some nerves are there, which ultimately runs to our brain, and this nerve is known as optic nerve. So here you can see this retina is here. So at this point there is no means retina is present, but in this point image does not form. So one thing you remember, image forms on the retina. So retina is like a screen. You have seen the projector screen. So on the projector screen images are formed of the, from the projector. Similarly, this is the screen of our eye. Here the images are formed. Whatever we see, the images of those objects are formed on this screen, on this retina. So one point is there in our retina, and it is known as blind spot. Here no images are formed, so it is present here. And in this retina we have two different types of cells are there, rod cells and cone cells. So because of these cells only the images are formed, and these images are processed, and in the brain the main image we can see. So so these are the different parts of our eyes. So what are the different parts? Cornea, the sclera we have, then we have cornea, then we have iris, and at the center of iris we have pupil, and then we have our lens, and lens is attached with the help of ciliary muscles, and at the behind this eyeball we have the optic nerve through which the images and or the information is, or the information of the image is sent to the brain where it is processed. So this is the iris we have. So iris, the color of the iris varies from person to person, and the main function of iris is to regulate the size of the pupil. So the main function of iris to give the color of the eye, one thing, and another function of this iris is to regulate the size of the pupil. So in this picture you can clearly understand what I have said. So in this picture you can see the size of the pupil. Here it is very small and here it is very big. Why? Because the size of the pupil is regulated by the iris. So why the size of the pupil gets changed, or why the size of the pupil changes? So when light falls on the eye, the size of the pupil becomes small, and when there is no light, and the size of the pupil becomes large. Why? Because if it is why the size of the eye pupil changes? The size of the pupil changes to regulate the amount of light entering into our eyes. If it is big, more amount of light will enter, and if it is small, less amount of light will enter. Likewise, if we have a small hole in our wall, less amount of light will enter through it, and if we have a big window, more amount of light will enter into our rooms. So similarly, if the size of this pupil is not regulated by the iris, when we do not need more light will enter. So to regulate the amount of light that is needed by our eyes to form the image, so that to regulate that size, the iris is helping to regulate the size of the pupil. Then we have our lens. So lens is a convex lens, through that the light is reflected and images are formed on the retina. So here a picture is there. So light will reflect reflect from this picture, and it will ultimately refract through the lens, and the images will be formed on the retina. So main function of the lens is to refract the light rays and converges at one point to form the images. Then we have the ciliary muscles. The ciliary muscles will are attached to the lens, and their main function is to change the shape or change the focal length of the lens. So lens has focal length, so they pull the lens thin, and they push the lens to make little bulge. So here you can see they push the lens to make it little bulge, and they pull it to make it little thin. So depending on the location of the image or location of the object, the size and the focal length of the lens changes. Focal length of the lens changes according to the length of the object. Then we have retina and image formation. So here we have the image, and it will be formed with the help of our lens, and it will be formed ultimately on the retina, and it will be processed in the brain. And this is how the eye works, and I hope you have understood well, and thank you for watching the video.